Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You are about to listen to the Totally Super Awesome 80s Reboot Overdrive podcast.
This podcast is our fan tribute to the Incredible Hulk TV show. Be advised it has been exposed to radiation and we caution to listen at your own risk. You have now entered GammaCast.
And welcome to the GammaCast. Oh, no, I got the hiccups. I'm your host, Charlie. Oh, goodness, here it comes. The Professor Esser. And with me to my right is, as always,
80s music girl. What's up, y'all?
Yeah. Oh, goodness. One second. There we go. Always happy to have you, 80s music girl. You are an awesome addition to any podcast. Oh.
Why, thank you so much, Charlie. I appreciate that. It's great to be able to do these with you.
Yes.
I learned so much about, just Marvel in itself and 80s television.
Yes. Well, this is a fun episode. No one in it is particularly overwhelming, and I'm going to have to say again, this is kind of an episode in which the Hulk appears.
Yeah.
But really, it's a great episode all around.
Mm-hmm.
This is really an episode where when the Hulk shows up, you're like, hey, I'm the Hulk. It's like, yeah, cool, great to have you, Hulk. But let's get back to that story. That was an interesting story. Tonight's episode, Deep Shock. Season 4, Episode 5. First air date, December 12th, 1980. Directed by Reza Badia and writers Kenneth Johnson, developed for television, and of course, Roel Fishman. Stars Bill Bixby, Jack Holden, Lou Ferrigno, and the rest of the cast. Notable characters, you have Tom Clancy as Edgar Tucker, who is just really all over the place here. You have Ed Power as Frank, the secondary character. This is Ed Power's second show. He was also in 747, where he played Phil. That's been so long, I have no idea which character Phil was. So.
Yeah. Phil?
Yeah. Well, and like I said, he looks like Phil Dunphy. So it's like, wait, is that Phil Dunphy? No, it's not Phil Dunphy. But he's certainly a character. Our plot line tonight is that a power plant is being moved to full automation.
Yeah.
Nary a man shall be around, which obviously isn't true, but that's okay.
Right.
And Tom Clancy, Edgar Tucker, he's our shop foreman who's dealing with the problems, man. He's trying to negotiate the best deal he can for his men, but his men aren't listening. Tonight's synopsis. After the Hulk takes a jolt of electricity while saving a coworker at Tres Lobos power plant, David Benton begins to get psychic premonitions. So let's take the story as a whole. Rose, what did you think of tonight's episode?
I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. I actually was concerned for David for most of the episode. I'm normally not, because he pretty much has it together even when he goes in or comes out of a Hulk out. But this one kind of worried me. I thought, oh my gosh, his little brain got shocked and electricity. Now, what's that going to do to his transformations? What's that doing to him? They really had you on the edge of your seat there as far as, what was going to happen.
Yeah, and he does have the tinnitus throughout the entire period. He's having these moments of dissociation. And it is cool, and it is interesting when he's having these premonitions without knowing what they are.
Right.
which I thought was
Right.
kind of a very interesting take on it, where he's having these premonitions, he's feeling like there's something just beyond, but I have
Yes.
no idea what it is. And
Yeah, you
one,
can't see that far ahead.
yeah, but he keeps on getting this vision of himself lifting
Hmm.
Edgar over his head,
Hmm.
and
Right.
and again, for what it's worth, it kind of felt like these were all scenes that were sort of inserted into the storyline to further the storyline of Edgar and Frank and Mr. Buchanan.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Um, Again, a good McGee episode. We have some nice McGee in here.
I was so surprised. I actually put that in my notes. McGee actually shows up for a change.
Yeah, because I was actually thinking he wasn't going to, and I guess for what it's worth, I think maybe David's getting a little calmer about
Yeah.
McGee. He knows that
Yeah.
yes, McGee's showing up, but if he isn't here when I'm here, I'm not going to worry too much about it.
Hmm.
If I just take appropriate precautions, I'm going to be okay.
Right. Right.
And that seems to be where he's at here. In this particular instance, what you have is, well, you have our first Hulk out,
Right.
which is when David, who is the hired on stiff, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and again, it's pretty, here's what I'm going to say for all this. Man, it's a good day to be a white man. Because you do realize how much of everything is just that David is a white guy. He
Yeah.
comes up and says, "Hey, I'd like a job."
Hmm.
And he doesn't have real references. He doesn't have a real
No.
resume. But he
No.
talks a good game.
Yeah.
And they're going to let him get
Yeah.
on. And they're,
Well, yeah. He sounds smart. He might actually know something. Let's hire this guy.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that he's got a pale complexion doesn't hurt, is all I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying there. I mean, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I do walk away saying, interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so David has just been hired on because even though they're phasing everyone out, they're still bringing people on.
Right.
Which of course works
Then.
out perfect for David because
Hmm.
he's just a hobo passing through looking for a gig.
That's right.
And Edgar takes him up with him to deal with this big metal boxy thing.
Yeah. What the heck was that all about?
It was a MacGuffin X-23.
Okay.
The MacGuffin X-23 does all of your electrostatic needs, and that's what it was doing there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just, the fact that here he is, they're, at the plant, the power plant, and he's reaching out, Edgar's reaching out with a metal rod to grab this metal box.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, that doesn't look good.
But you know what I loved about that is that's like a picador spike. That is actually
Yeah.
if you do demurrage, I mean that's an actual. I mean I don't know if nowadays they use it anymore, but at that point in history, yeah,
Hmm.
you'd have the big crane bring it in, you'd take the big spike and you'd reach over and you'd pull it closer
Hmm.
because the crane didn't have the fine motor control to move it, so you had to
Right.
have had the guys with the spikes to pull it in. Now,
That's
as
right.
time went on, the cranes got better. Didn't need the guys
Hmm.
with the spikes so much. Now,
Right.
hopefully, if you were in a longshoremen's union, you said it doesn't matter if you need a spike or not. The guys with the spikes are still staying. Uh,
Yes.
that's just the way it works, kids.
Yes. Hmm.
But they're
Industry.
yeah, well, union power, and it is.
Yeah.
That is the crux of the problem of union conversations
Hmm.
because when you're dealing with a union, obviously you have all the union working together and you're all building the things, and then eventually people start bringing in automation,
Right.
and you don't need as many guys on the floor once you have the automation.
Right.
But you still have the union saying, hey, look, these are the guys who paid their dues. They're part of this group.
Mhm.
We're not going to send them off to do nothing. So
Right.
either you pay them to sit down and drink coffee until they
Mhm.
retire,
Yeah.
or you give them some other activity to do. But the problem happens is that when the old guy gets paid to sit down and drink coffee,
Mhm.
and then the new guy thinks, well, gee, so if I work here long enough, I get to sit down to drink coffee and get paid. And it's like, no, he's just here because he occupied a position that no longer exists. And
Right.
probably if they had communicated better, if the union had
Mhm.
communicated better with the new recruits coming in, they might have done better. But I think oftentimes they didn't because they were being short-sighted themselves.
Moreover, yeah.
I mean, it's a
And they didn't
possibility.
necessarily have all the answers either.
No, no one ever does. That's the truth of it. But as it is, right now the guy's trying to get the big metal thingy somewhere, and he
Yeah.
starts having a heart attack. Like
Yeah, that
one of
sucks.
7 he has this episode.
He's still he hasn't been taking that stuff he's supposed to be taking.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying this guy. And not for nothing. I mean, that's what I'm going to say is the crux of this is that he knows the
Yeah.
second he retires, he's gone.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay,
Definitely.
you can give me the retirement, and that's fine, but, a week in, I'm going to be dead.
Yes.
Because he knows he's on his last legs anyway.
Mhm.
He doesn't want to necessarily accelerate it, but he doesn't want to slow it. But he's not going to do anything to slow it down, and he wants to keep on working, and that's where
Right.
he's finding himself, and it's a difficult place to
Mhm.
be.
Mhm.
But he has his whether it's a heart attack or a stroke or something. He has something
Yes.
between grabbing his arm
Mhm.
and falling over, and then you see David coming up to help him. But of course, there's power cables that are loose and they're sparking.
Mhm.
Like the fact that they're kind of clearly sparklers.
Yeah.
Because after he pulls it down and it's no longer connected to the electricity, it's still burning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you take it as it comes.
Mhm.
But David gets pretty badly shocked in this, and he falls over, and
Mhm.
the ambulance comes, takes them both to the hospital,
Right.
and surprisingly, first off, Edgar's just fine.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
really, Edgar, you're just fine after all that? I mean, the Hulk we figure has some kind of healing factor, but
Yeah.
he's at least in a coma for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. He
Edgar
definitely got the worst of it.
Edgar's out of it, and he's like zippity doo dah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But he feels bad, so he has David come live with him.
Yeah.
And then we get a nice bit of some, shop talk because Edgar really wants to have this job retraining, but the management's gonna basically screw them over, not give them job retraining, which is
Right.
not cool. Let's be honest.
No, it isn't. It's very
And
shady.
yeah, it's very shady. And then what happens next? Basically, Frank is yelling at Edgar all the time. You've got to do
Mhm.
more. You got to, cut some deals for us. Get this moving forward.
Mhm.
And Edgar is saying, "Hey, we don't have leverage. We don't have leverage."
Yeah.
And then what clearly happens is because he has another heart attack. Do we get a
Mhm.
Hulk out there or no? I don't think we get a Hulk out.
I'm trying to think. When was his second heart attack?
Yeah, I don't think we get a Hulk out on the second heart attack because I think David saves him.
Right.
Yeah, David
Right.
saves him, keeps him, puts the pills in his mouth, and saves his life.
Oh, because he had the premonition
Yeah.
about
He knew
him lying on his back on some grating and then these things falling out. So I didn't realize they were pills. I was like, what are those?
Well, I knew that,
Big Tic Tacs
yeah, the
or
first
is
time I thought
it
maybe they looked like teeth.
Mentos
I
with
don't know. Yeah. But I figured after we got the premise, I figured, oh, those are going to be nitroglycerin pills. That's going to be how he keeps the guy going. And he
Yeah.
does keep him going. He does keep him alive. And again, Edgar, he's just like zippity doo dah the next day.
Yep.
This guy is the freaking immortal man. I don't know.
Energizer Bunny.
Yeah,
That's what he is.
nothing they throw at him. I mean, yeah, it knocks him out for like 5 minutes, and he's like, let me shake it off. He's just a big old Irishman. Okay, I've shooken it off. Let's go forward.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it's honestly it's at times a beautiful thing. But now they know that Edgar's freaking nearly dead.
Well, see, he goes into the office and then he talks to Buchanan. He gets called in there, and of course, David has the premonition about, him in there and hearing him say, "But I've been with this company for 23 years." He doesn't know exactly what all that entails, and every time he gets the ringing in his ears, he gets the premonition.
Yeah.
So the boss tells him, we know you're sick, Edgar. We're gonna bump you up to retirement with full pension at the end of the week, and you're gonna be fine. And he's not happy with that. He wants the guys to have a deal too, and he just doesn't have the heart, no pun intended, to tell them that the reason why he's getting a sweet deal is because he's sick. So.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful moment there about a man who is trying to do his best for his crew members. He really does care about them, and he is unfortunately unable to really provide for them in that way.
Right.
Which is kind of sad when you think about it.
It is very sad.
So he basically decides he's going to. So basically, after he has the big meeting with the union crew over beer and pizza, with our beer brand beer.
I know. I kept trying to squint to see what the brand name on that was, and I couldn't.
It was beer. It said beer.
Too blurry.
Yeah, no, it was beer brand.
Blue and white.
Big blue lettering. Now, I'm going to tell you, there actually is a brand of beer called beer, which it's Genesee Red, and it just says beer across the front label, which is what I love about that, because it is beer brand beer. Now, they do have other flavors of Genesee. They have Genesee Ice and Genesee Green, which is Genesee Cream Ale, which is really the better flavor. But they do make a Genesee Red, which is Genesee, and just says beer across the front.
Now, was this during the time in history where everything went generic, or are we already past that?
Well, no, I mean everything that's on the show is generic.
Yeah, but there was actually a time in history where things were just like black and white, like beer and cereal and toilet tissue, stuff like that.
Well, I think we're a little past that time. I think we still have the reminiscence of that here.
Yeah.
With the generic qualities of things.
Yes.
At this time in history, you had really, and really even before this, you would really start to see this push towards branding, Anheuser-Busch and, Quisp cereal and various cartoon characters and things that were selling various products.
Right.
But, you'll see that every so often in this show where you have these products that are a little behind the times. And one of the things I remember, a few episodes back when they had the child abuse episode, and you had the guy with the can of beer, and then he had to take the church key to open it. Because that's how you opened beer back then. It was a can of beer. And, pop it open with a church key, and that's how you worked it, And then later they got the pull tabs and the pop top. And in fact, I remember in the episode Jimmy, which was great because you have Jimmy as the little idiot savant character, and then like years later you have Jimmy come back as the long-haired biker dude. Because he grows his hair out and he grows his beard out, and he's going to be, hey, I'm Jimmy, the biker dude now, and it's like he just completely changes his persona. But in that point in history, he has to show Hulk how you use a pull tab.
Oh,
Yeah, now this is before they introduced pop tops, which were a few years later.
right.
But anyway,
Yeah.
moving right along.
Yes.
In this case, I think we do have pull tab beer cans. Everyone's drinking the Blue Brand beer with their pizza, and Frank is not having what Edgar is selling.
No.
He very clearly says, I know you're getting a sweet deal out of this, and you're leaving us to rot.
Yeah. Very frustrating.
Yeah, very frustrating and not cool at all.
Yeah.
And when Edgar awakens, gets the letter from David, basically saying, it's time for me to move on.
See ya.
Yeah, I can't be here anymore. And then Edgar decides, if he's going to die anyway, he's going to go out in a blaze of glory. And he goes in, locks himself in the control room, starts flipping switches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
he can.
He's going to go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
And he's holding basically the entire city hostage as he's shutting off the power plant. And Buchanan's worried because he's like, look, there's going to be riots in the street. There's going to be chaos. And of course,
hospitals, patients.
Oh, patients are going to die.
Yeah.
Life support's going to be turned off. Because apparently they don't have emergency backup generators at hospitals at this point in history. Which, sadly, is actually the case. They don't. Power went out, you died. That was it. But David has already left, but of course he gets a ride he hitchhikes a ride. And while he's hoboing it, he's listening to the radio, and over the radio comes Trace Lobo is being held prisoner by Edgar, and he's asking for David, and David can't resist.
Yeah, no, of course not, because he's, he kind of, with the premonitions and everything, I annotated in my notes, he kind of left him to his own devices, because he foresaw what he was going to do.
Exactly.
And he would have rather had the whole city come apart at the seams than to hurt his friend, so I don't know how logical thought pattern that was, but
yeah, well, it's very interesting because you can see him having the premonition and him trying to interpret it.
Yes.
And it's an interesting aspect because, of course, when he gets there, and they say, you've got to go in, you've got to go through the thing and do that, and he's remembering the premonition, he's like, I can't do that. I can't go in. And then the SWAT teams are saying, dude, we'll go in.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to take this guy out in 5 seconds, no worries. And then he's like, okay, I'll go in.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really super dangerous solution.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole time they sent him in, they don't really tell him. Well, they can't tell him because, things are happening at such a fast pace. I mean, the minute he gets in there, it's like, oh, geez, look at the temperature. Yeah, he's not going to last. Yeah. He's toast.
Yeah, he's getting baked. And of course,
for sure.
As everyone's there, McGee comes up to the gate. He shows his press pass and says, "You got to let me in. All the other press is inside."
Absolutely.
And so he goes in, and our very capable young African American anchor is doing the live feed. Jack just sneaks right in.
Because everybody's focused on her and not him.
Yeah, well, it's not. There really wasn't strong security. There was a guy at the gate say, "You can't come in here, sir," and that was it.
Yeah.
This is 1980.
I wasn't that impressed with McGee's driving. No. Honestly, he had plenty of room to pop that Yui. And what does he do? He takes out a sidewalk. I'm just like, dude, really? Come on.
McGee he might have been a little, honestly, might have been a little drunk when that happened.
This is true.
You know,
He drinks a lot. He does drink a lot.
The man, he lives.
He's a
He
hard-hitting
lives
reporter.
at the edge. You know, it's
He lives for life on the edge.
booze and cheeseburgers, man. He is living in his car and he is enjoying every last minute of it. There's no doubt about that. And this is the
This is
1970s. No one's wearing seatbelts. You know,
Oh,
if you had
yeah.
a couple of snorts before you got in the car,
Yes.
if the cop
You
pulled
were
you over,
good.
he'd just ask you, well, can you get yourself home? I say, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get myself home. So, well,
I'm
get yourself
fine.
home. Okay?
Yeah.
Enough with this nonsense.
Don't you come back out tonight either.
Exactly. 2 in the afternoon, but still, the point remains. So McGee's there, and of course he sees David getting into the tubes as they lock the tubes before he can get there. And
Yeah.
And then I kind of like, all the union guys are like, hey, you don't get to talk to our David,
Yeah. Who are you?
Who are you, buddy?
We don't know you.
Exactly, and not for nothing, that's true. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the truth of it. David's crawling through the tubes. He is getting overheated. He's getting burned, but he's trying to make it because he doesn't want the SWAT team going in. And of course,
Yes.
that triggers the Hulk out.
Right.
And the Hulk bursts through the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And Edgar comes at him with an axe, and the Hulk is like, dude, really?
Seriously?
An axe, yeah. Okay, so he takes the axe and he picks Edgar up. But then, and this I thought was great, is he's lifting Edgar up to throw him, and
Yeah.
he has the premonition of Edgar saying, don't hurt me, and he
Yeah.
he doesn't hurt him.
No.
He's like, okay, this is weird. I'm having some deja vu. I know this is different than what I've experienced before.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to walk away. But he goes and he tears the computer off the wall because apparently that turns off the device that gets it to stop blinking.
But do you know why, though? See, this is what I noticed.
Oh, what did you notice? Fill us in,
Reasoning.
Rosemary.
This is the reasoning in Hulk's mind, because this is where David and the Hulk connect. When the guy tells him, you're going to look at this panel thing and it's going to say CX11, you need to do whatever, it's going to be a blinking light, blah, 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 yakety smackety. And then when he gets in there and he's lifting Edgar up, throw him across the room, and he says, don't hurt me, and he puts him down because he's like seriously concerned. And he looks across the room and he sees the panel that says CX11. And he's like, I gotta take that sucker out.
Well,
so that's when, yeah.
Yeah, except he doesn't do anything to it. He just rips the
Well, yeah, but
that
I didn't say it was gonna be like totally like, oh yes, well here, let me flip this switch. And like, he's Hulk, but he still has some reasoning there from David, and he's like, oh, screw it. Rip this sucker off. I'll do what I do best.
and for what it's worth, it worked.
It did. It was awesome.
Worked as well as the day is long. And you see the other guy saying, "Hey, that did it."
Yep.
So we're assuming there's some kind of weird fail-safe that once you rip the computer out of the wall, okay, turn everything off. Just put everything back and make everything cool. And
yes, it's all disconnected now.
It worked. So hurrah for the Hulk.
Yay.
Yay, Hulk.
Yay, Hulk.
And then and this is interesting because again, David goes back and hangs out with Edgar in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, David is pretty clear now. McGee's around, but I know how to avoid him.
Yeah.
I need to get out of town before too long, but
yeah,
I can come back. I can sew up the loose ends.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got to get on the road. And he goes back and he talks to Edgar, and we tie up all the loose ends. Edgar's going to get his retirement.
Mm-hmm.
The guys are going to get their training.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons.
Yes.
Well, they want to. I mean, the argument is they do want to end the PR nightmare, and so reasons.
Right.
And
Yes.
David cues the Lonely Man sequence, and he heads off.
Right. Not before he speaks with the doctor.
Oh, yes, he does speak with the doctor and make sure that everything's back to normal.
She's all saying he's normal and everything. So.
Well, as normal as David Banner ever is.
Yeah, as normal as David can get. Yeah. So.
Dissociative identity disorder chemical signature is gone.
Yeah. Just as quickly as it showed up.
Although I did like that because it does suggest the dissociative identity disorder in David.
Yes. Yes.
And I do strongly feel that there is a dissociative identity with David and the Hulk. I do think that as Peter David put out in the comic books that dissociative identity existed long before the Gamma Bomb incident, and that, this is just part of who the Hulk is, but now it has a manifested existence.
Right.
Anything's possible. Okay.
Right.
But David's got to hit the road, and so he's off.
Off he goes with his little brown bag.
Off he goes. Yeah, little brown bag, man. That apparently his pea coat is completely folded up in, because he's going to need it come fall.
Oh, yes.
Although technically this is airing in December, so he probably should have been wearing them, but he's in Southern California, so
Right.
Got to save that for later. Or maybe he's like pawning it, and then he just buys a new one at the next city, He could be running two things like that. I mean, that's entirely possible. This is 1980s. There's a lot of surplus army. Army stuff out there. He could and he's a relatively, slender guy. He can go in. He can pick up something off the rack. He's good to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, any final thoughts on tonight's episode, 80s Music Girl?
Yeah, I just have like one, only because I've worked in hospitals and I've obviously been patient, who hasn't been a patient in a hospital. And the fact that the nurse calls the doctor after David wakes up and it shows up immediately. And I'm like, that is so fake, because doctors don't come nearly that fast when they're needed. You were lucky if they were even in the hospital, let alone on the same floor or the ward where you were. Like, really?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. I mean, we'll say it was a coincidence. She just happened to be walking by, so it was like, what? Oh.
Yeah, I just happened to be walking by my patient's room just at the time he woke up. So, yeah, I'll give it to her.
Universe filled with propinquity.
There you go.
There you go. Propinquity. Look it up, kids. It means closeness.
But we know you won't, so.
Yeah, but that was cool. I mean, I enjoyed the episode. Like I said, it was again a very Hulk superfluous episode.
Yes.
But a delightful episode nonetheless. I think that whereas Freefall was an episode in which they kind of jammed the Hulk into it, this was one where the Hulk is there and he's in the background, but Hulk don't mind it. The Hulk's just like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to show up when you need me. You guys tell your story. It's all good.
You be you.
So, Rose, if folks want to find you on the Twitter, on the Gmails, on anything that you happen to have, how can they find you?
I am 80s Music Girl on Twitter, 80s Music Girl on Facebook, and 80s Music Girl on Instagram.
Awesome. And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, as they did back in the 80s, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And follow me on the Twitters at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. I will be trying to live tweet this show come Saturday night at 7 o'clock Eastern. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hulking out with us, and please hulk out with us again.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.